Today's topic is suicide, the forbidden word, the whispered word, the word that tears families apart, and the word that brings shame to some. Everyone has their own version of every story, and this one is mine. I've kept a lot of this to myself for over 18 years, not because I was ashamed of my dad or myself, it was never that, but because suicide is one of those things that people just whisper about. They avoid it, they judge it, and try to explain it away, all while desperately searching for someone to blame. Today I'm sharing this story because if my pain, my mistakes, my lessons, or my experiences can help even one person, then maybe something good can come from all of it. Before I start, I want to make one thing very clear. My dad was a great man. His memory is a good one, and so is his legacy. Nothing I'm about to share should change that. I think sometimes people hear the word suicide and that's all they see, but my dad was so much more than just the way that he died. I was 17 years old whenever I lost him, and if you had asked me then what a perfect childhood looked like, I would have told you mine. I had amazing parents, a great home, and a family that loved me very much. I wasn't a perfect teenager by any means. In fact, I was pretty wild. I moved out whenever I was 17 because I just didn't like rules. I thought I knew everything. I was living with my sister and living my best life as a teenager. I thought I had everything figured out, and then one phone call changed all of that for me. I was at my boyfriend's house when one of my mom's friends called and told me that I needed to come home. My first thought was, what did I do now? I honestly thought that I was in trouble. I remember driving home completely confused. We lived in the middle of nowhere with about a mile-long driveway. Literally no neighbors nearby. As I got closer to the house, I could see lights everywhere. Police cars, ambulances, people standing outside. But there wasn't a fire. Nothing looked destroyed. Then I saw my mom. I could see all of my dad's best friends, and I remember just feeling really confused. Like, none of this makes sense. Then my mom told me that my dad was gone. She was in a panic herself, so she wasn't really making sense. I just knew that he was gone, and the reasoning didn't matter. Even now, 18 years later, I can still picture that moment. The shock, the confusion, the feeling that life had just split into a before and after. Over the years, I've spent a lot of time wondering why, which I think is natural. When someone dies by suicide, people want answers. They want a reason. Something that they can point to that makes it make sense to them. My dad had spent most of his adult life working at a car dealership. When that closed, he started working at the coal mine. That was a huge life change for him. He had smoked marijuana for stress and anxiety for as long as I can remember, and when he started at the mines, he had to stop. Now, like I said, I'm not making excuses or blaming anything. These are just the thoughts that went through my head. Because later on, I had learned that my dad had started taking Chantix to stop smoking marijuana, which is used to stop smoking tobacco. And it's one of those medications that literally have way more bad side effects than benefits. Could this have played a role? Maybe, maybe not. The truth is, I'll never know. I also blamed myself for a really long time, and honestly, I kind of still do. I was a very difficult teenager. Nothing was ever good enough for me. And I know how much pressure kids can put on parents because I have a teenage girl of my own. But I could blame myself, I could blame medication, I could blame stress, his job, family arguments. I could blame 100 different things. But after 18 years, I've realized something. The reason doesn't change the outcome. My dad is still gone. No answer I find will ever bring him back to me. Nothing I do from the moment he took his last breath until today will change that fact. One thing I learned later that has always stayed with me is that when they found my dad, he had a picture of me and my sister on his chest. He wanted us to know that he loved us, and I believe that with everything inside of me. And that's one of the reasons that I finally decided to tell this story, because I don't want people to think that suicide automatically means someone didn't love their family. I don't want people to think it's a simple decision. I don't want people to think that the ones left behind somehow weren't enough. Sometimes people are fighting battles that we never see. And sometimes the people we worry about the least are the ones hurting the most. The people I have personally known that have passed away from suicide weren't the people that everyone would think. They all were so happy, seemed fine, seemed like they had everything together. That's why I think it's dangerous when we assume that suicide only affects people who look depressed. Sometimes people smiling the biggest smiles are carrying the heaviest loads. But what hurt almost as much as losing my dad is what happened after. My whole family fell apart. Relationships that had always been good suddenly weren't. People wanted answers. People wanted someone to blame. Some blamed my mom. Some blamed me. Some blamed his job. Some blamed everything except the reality that sometimes terrible things happen and there isn't one person responsible. But people think that if they can find someone to blame, it makes them feel safer, like they have some kind of closure of an answer. It gives them someone to be mad at besides the person that's not here. But what that actually does is create more victims. I spent years feeling blamed, feeling unwanted, and feeling somehow like I wasn't enough. And that hurt deeply changed me. It sent me down a path of alcohol, drugs, self-destruction, and having absolutely no respect for myself. Those were my choices, and I'm responsible for those choices. But I do often wonder how different things might have been if I hadn't felt so abandoned, so blamed, and just unloved afterwards by literally everyone that had ever felt like home to me. And this is why I think we need to stop treating suicide like a dirty word. We need to stop whispering about it. Stop acting like certain families should be ashamed. We need to stop blaming the people left behind. The victims aren't just the person who died. The victims are the spouses, children, parents, siblings, friends, the people who are going to spend years questioning themselves, the people trying to survive what happened. So if you were to ask me what losing my dad had taught me, it taught me that we have no idea what other people are fighting. It taught me that life changes can be absolutely terrifying. And it taught me that compassion for others matters. It taught me that sometimes, no matter how much we love someone, no matter what we say, and no matter what we do, people are going to make the decisions they make. And that isn't our fault. But it also taught me that kindness matters, compassion matters, checking on people, thinking about how our actions affect others matters. Maybe we can't save everyone, but maybe we can make someone's burden just a little lighter. 18 years later, I still wish I could call my dad every day. I wish I could ask him silly questions. I wish he could see who I've become. And I wish so badly that he could meet the little people that I've brought into this world. I wish he could have been a part of how much I've grown. But since I can't, I'll settle for this. I'll tell his stories, I'll remember the good, and I'll remind people that suicide isn't something to be ashamed of talking about. Because silence doesn't heal, honesty does. And if sharing this helps one person feel less alone, then it's worth it. That's my goal with this whole series. Because I firmly believe that there's no way I have been forced to have all of this hurt be my reality if I'm not supposed to use it for good.